Automotive news show that goes live every day in the morning at around 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to bring you guys up close and personal today. I actually like this view a lot better. Maybe we should stick to this in the future. But today we have the episode that we promised yesterday. If you guys are MoneyShift followers on Facebook, if you guys like the MoneyShift Facebook page, which I already know all of you do, then you saw this. Okay, yesterday was actually a top 10 most popular post ever on the MoneyShift page. If I go there quickly, when I shared it out to the usual sources as well. So it's a pretty equivalent sample size. And what I will say is that, hold on, let's see. What is the number specifically that viewed it? Because obviously when you run a business page or a Facebook page, you have the ability to sort of see. Michael, what is going on? Jack says, I really think I'm going to get one of these bad boys. Can't wait to see one in person. Hell yeah. Hopefully this episode either helps you commit to buying one or makes you think a little bit. And you'll see what I mean as we get into the episode. But yeah, guys, there is 11,000 people have seen this post so far. And again, that's top 5, but it's not number 1. Actually, the most viewed post that I think I ever got was the Hyundai Santa Cruz and the Toyota Supra. Those are my top 2, which is oddly enough hilarious. Jack coming in with the 50 stars, my man. Thank you so much for all your support, dude. Seriously, cheers to you. We got cold brew today, guys, and this is cup number 2, so you better believe I am already in the fucking zone. So we're going to hit the share button, as we so often do, and as you guys should consider doing as well, and then we are going to get going. Today's podcast is going to be a good one. Michael says, of course, your high watermark would be a Hyundai post. Yeah, it's a bit ironic. Maybe I'm the only one making them. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it makes me feel right. You know what I mean? I'm bringing the knowledge to the people about the Hyundais. Hold on one second. Let me just hit that share button. Okay. Incroyable. We did it. Shout out to Michael. Thank you for the share, dude. I appreciate that as well. In addition to myself for the share. Shout out to myself. Thank you for that. Appreciate your continued support. All right, guys. So the first thing that we're going to do, it's pretty obvious. We're going to talk about the Z car. And I want to give you guys all the details. I want to give you guys all, don't mind me flexing my top. Dude, flex all you want. Jack, you deserve it. We're going to talk about the Z car. I'm going to give you guys the details, but then we're going to do something that I haven't seen done yet. We're going to talk about its competition. So we're going to go into each of the other cars you can get around this price point, that if you are in the market or if you're genuinely excited about the 400Z, you should think about and consider, because there are other good cars that exist today on the market that might fill the need that you think the Z fills. But before we can do that, we got to give props to Derek. Thank you for the like, my man. Welcome to the MoneyShift stream. And then what we got to do is tell you guys about the Z car, because I know all of you follow MoneyShift on Facebook. All of you read my post in detail. All of you have all the information. So this is going to be reiterating a lot of common concepts for everybody. But let's go into what the Z car is. Now, this is the newest Nissan Z, and it was unveiled last night at 8 p.m. and it promises to continue the lineage of the Nissan Z. This obviously is the successor to the 370Z. So what are the details of this car? What are the things that you need to know in order to be up to speed? Number 1, the power plant, okay? Much like we predicted here on this show, the power plant from the Nissan Z, which, by the way, They're just calling Nissan Z. There's no 370Z. There's no 400Z. There's none of that, Jack. Yes, we are following it up with photos from Greece, but I'm going to do that at the end because I feel like more people care about the Z car and the comparison before just some random photos from me in Greece. But yeah, we're definitely going to cover that for sure. So let's get into the details. Like I said before, this uses the engine from the Infiniti Q60 Red Sport. So the Nissan Z, again, it's just called Z. There's no 400, 390, 380, whatever. It's just called Z. Leverages a twin-turbo 3-liter V6 that makes 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque sent only to the rear wheels. No all-wheel drive nonsense, no crazy shift to go front-wheel drive, none of that. This is rear-wheel drive. So those numbers alone represent nearly a 70 horsepower gain and 80 torque gain over the outgoing 370Z, which in its own right was already quick. And Nissan didn't give us a 0 to 60 time, but they said, it would be around 15 to 20% faster than the outgoing 370Z, which would put it in the 4s in terms of 0 to 60 time. Now, when it comes to transmission, there are two available. Number one, 6-speed manual transmission that has baked-in rev matching, which, by the way, the Z car family was one of the first to do that. It has launch control on the performance model, and in addition to that, you can also have a 9-speed automatic transmission. And then there's two additions to this car. So there's the performance, and then there's just the regular base sport. The base sport has 18-inch wheels. The performance has 19-inch wheels. The base model has, your standard run-of-the-mill Jazz, but the performance model has a limited slip differential, which is huge, okay? In addition to that, there's also all the safety equipment and things of that mark. But the biggest thing you guys need to know is pricing. Okay? The pricing for this car is estimated to be around $40,000. Now, how are they able to do that? Okay. What you guys are looking at is a continuation of Nissan's overall approach to revitalizing their lineup. Okay. I see your questions, guys. I will answer them in 1 second after this mini wrap, okay? Nissan's approach to revitalizing their lineup is doing two things. Number one, changing the exterior design of all their cars, okay? Freshening them up, bringing them up into the modern world. We're talking about cars like the Z. We're talking about cars like the Frontier. We're talking about cars like the Pathfinder. These are all cars that received a massive overhaul in the looks department. Number two, they're leveraging the same chassis, okay? This Z shares a lot with the 370Z. The Frontier shares a lot with the previous Frontier. The Pathfinder, same thing, okay? That's how you keep the cost down. Number three, it leverages the same engine and transmission that was either in the car previous or is in another Nissan product. So, for example, the Frontier leverages the same V6 in the outgoing Frontier. The Pathfinder uses the same V6 in the outgoing Pathfinder. The Nissan Z uses the same V6 that's in Infiniti products. And doing these measures, okay, allows them to focus on the things that are most important, right? The biggest changes to the Z car from previous are the engine, are the interior, and suspension upgrades, okay? They altered the geometry of the suspension in the Z car, right? They made it stronger overall, rigidity-wise. This car has a stronger torsional rigidity than previous, right? They make the changes where it mattered, okay? New front and rear shocks, right? Like, these are the things that improve and enhance the driving experience, and it allows them to keep the price low. Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing had a 3 in front of its base model. I wouldn't. Because it leverages so much existing Nissan tech that the things that they're introducing, the things that are new, are very minor. This isn't like a Toyota Supra that was built from the ground up. They're leveraging a lot of existing stuff. So that's why they're able to do what they did. So shout out to Nissan. I think they're doing great stuff with their overall lineup. But okay, let's answer some questions quickly. Jack says, is there another Nissan Infiniti car using the same power plant with a manual behind it? No. Every other every other Infiniti Nissan product that leverages this twin turbo V6 has made it to an automatic transmission. Derek says, no LSD in the base. Correct. The performance, as of right now, is the only one with a limited slip differential. Now, we are getting rumors that the Nismo is going to be unveiling at the Tokyo Auto Salon, which usually takes place in January. So we're just 4 or 5 short months away from seeing what the Nismo model will look like, and that one obviously will have a limited slip differential as well. Jack says, do you only get the 400 horse in the higher trim? No, the 400 horsepower right now is the base and performance trim. The differences between base and performance are limited slip differential and wheel tire are the main ones. I'm sure there's going to be some small interior things, but for the most part, this is a this is the same engine in both of them. So both of them get access to the 400 horse. Jack says, how do you feel about the chrome strip? Shout out to Daniel Smith with the follow. Cheers to you, sir. Welcome, welcome. We got Ben coming in with the like as well. Appreciate you guys. Welcome to Z Talk. Derek says, I can't wait to add one to my collection. Hell yeah, dude. It'll be interesting to see how this thing actually does in terms of like what the review circuit thinks about it. Because to Terry's point, right? It is, by the way, Terry, on the Z34 platform, which means that it is based on the FM platform, which is from the early 2000s, right? This is an old platform. There is no doubt. Okay? But one of the things that being on an old platform does, okay, is it has the steering feel. It has the chassis feel. It has years, decades, in fact, of tuning to hone it in. So yes, is it an antiquated chassis? 100%. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because it's still multi-link. Still has all the right tools. They altered the suspension geometry, okay? So it'll likely feel even better. It'll likely feel even more planted. And like Jack says, the 350 and 370Z are both great driving cars. So altering the suspension geometry, giving this thing new shocks, giving this thing a new engine, giving this thing new everything, right? Means it'll probably still be a good car to drive. So I have no issue with that at all. Jack says, how do you feel about the Katana Blade chrome strip? I'm 50-50 on it, dude. I'm mixed. I'm going to be honest with you. There's some angles. I think it looks mega in the blue. But I would probably either black it out or get it body color if I'm speccing my Z, right? Like, I get that it like breaks up the body line, you know what I mean? A little bit. But I would probably black it out to match the black roof, just to make a more cohesive design. And you guys can notice and call out the performance model from other ones because it also has a rear spoiler, which you see all over this. So Terry says, I agree. Hopefully they don't transfer the electric inputs like they did with the Infiniti 2. I'm liking the positivity. Hell yeah, dude. We're honestly, guys, you know how they say in the US, like innocent until proven guilty? And I'm the same way when it comes to cars. I'm glass half full until you give me a reason not to be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to believe that this car is solid until I get behind the wheel and it tells me otherwise, right? You give everyone a shot. And that's regardless of brand. If this was a Kia, I'd be just as stoked for it as I am that it's a Nissan Z. And you guys should be too. Give every car you drive an open mind until you get behind the wheel and it tells you otherwise. I promise you there's going to be a lot of cars that surprise you if you have that sort of thought process. Jack says, it being body color with the black roof would be cool, especially in that yellow. Totally agree. Now, you guys, there is a first edition model that is coming out that does have the bronze accents. You can see it on that yellow one there that has like the bronze wheels and such. But other than that, there's not really much. But, you know, with every car that launches these days, there's always a first edition model of it where they can just upcharge a little more. You know what I mean? Yeah, and guys, sorry, I'm just reading my notes here on the car. Double wishbone aluminum suspension that has new geometry with enhanced body rigidity and an electronic power steering, which helps improve cornering performance. So, like, this thing was modernized. This thing was updated. This isn't just a 370Z with a twin-turbo engine. Terry says, love the blue interior. Not enough of that in the market. Totally agree. And the integrated infotainment system in the dash, also a big plus that it doesn't just look like a tablet. Derek says they better do the 240 green as a color option. I'm with you. Any sort of dark green would be mega. Jack says, how long do you think until there's a blue Z with bronze TEs? 2 days. I think there's already a Photoshop of one. Let me see if I can find it. Nissan Z Photoshop with TE37. I wouldn't be surprised if someone already like came in hot with the Photoshop. There was Z Protos that were photoshopped with TE37s, and they looked incredible. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, here's one with like a Photoshop body kit and some TEs on it. Nick Gilman with the like. Welcome, my man. It's the first time seeing you pop in. Happy to have you here. Welcome, sir. But yeah, so check out this Photoshop, guys. This is the Nissan Z with a body kit and some TEs. Looks incredible. But yeah, okay, guys. Who is Fat Matt? We got a squad today. Cheers to everybody. We got cold brew in the cup, and we're talking cars. Is there a better morning? Can you do a side-by-side of the production version against the Z Proto? Yeah, Jack, they literally look exactly the same. There are very, very minor changes that Nissan did with the Z Proto compared to the Z that came out. The biggest one of which is they included a spoiler on the Z. So you can see it on the back of the trunk. But other than that, dude, it's literally exactly the same. Good morning to you, Matt. How you doing? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well, my man. But yeah, this is the Z Proto. So this car right here on the right is the concept, and the left, so you can see the amber that they have to put in. The grille was changed slightly. The wheels are even the same. Like, guys, they pretty much made the concept into reality with the Z car. Like this, like everything we saw in the concept was in production, and that's because, let's be honest, like the concept wasn't anything crazy, right? It's not like there were 20s on the concept. It's not like the concept car was all-wheel drive with 1,800 horsepower and like this crazy thing. No, the concept was really reserved, and it pretty much was the production car, which led it to be something that we are not disappointed by, right? Which is good news. Okay, so when you guys are considering the Z, I want you to not forget it is a hatch. Yes, Derek, 100%. I want you to not forget about its competition, okay? Because there's a lot of cars today that exist on the market that fill the need for which everyone is claiming that only the Z scratches. I'm talking about a rear-wheel drive, talking about a coupe, talking about something that is available in a manual or is just an incredible chassis to drive. There are plenty of cars that do that right now, and plenty that even cost under 40K. So let's talk about the competition, because you guys might be surprised, or maybe you're spurred to test drive and think about some other things instead of the Z, because you can't wait until next year. So the first car that we're going to talk about is the biggest boy of the Challenger segment, and it literally is the Dodge Challenger. Now, I know this might surprise you, but you can get a V8 Dodge Challenger, which is the RT trim, for $35,570. So you're looking at a 5.7 liter V8 with 375 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque, limited slip differential, manual transmission, cloth seats, $35K. Okay? Now, if you want to spend up to 40, which is what we assume that the 400Z, or excuse me, the Z price will be, that gets you a Scat Pack, which bumps your engine from a 5.7 to a 6.4 and gives you 485 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque, limited slip differential, 4,100 pounds. That's the kicker, okay? But what the Challenger provides that none of the other cars provide on this list is Grand Touring comfort. Now, other cars are fine on highway drives, but the Challenger is incredible. When I was in Los Angeles, I had friends that lived in San Diego, and I often would drive down from LA to San Diego. If we have anybody on the West Coast on the stream, which I don't think we do because it's 6:30 over there, but if we have anybody on the West Coast on the stream, you'll know that that drive takes roughly 3 hours. 2.5, 3 hours, okay? I did that drive in a Mustang, in a Camaro, and a Challenger. And the Challenger was the comfiest by far because it's based on an E-Class, right? It gives you the engine. It's got more than enough power. Now, is your handling going to be as good as a Z? No. But it gives you the power, gives you a manual transmission, gives you a limited slip, all for 35 grand. So that's a competitor. That's an option. Number two, it's obviously no surprise. We're going to keep it in the muscle car family. The Ford Mustang. Jack says, God damn it, I didn't want you to bring up the Challenger up against this. Ugh, I'm torn. No, I know. And but that's the thing, guys. There's so many cars out there, you gotta drive every single one. Because maybe on the stat sheet, you're like the 400Z, or I keep calling it the 400Z, god damn it. The Z fits your needs. Maybe the Z is everything. But when you drive it, you're like, you know what? I value what the Challenger provides. And I can either save some coin or get the better edition. I can get an RT wide body. I can get a Scat Pack, whatever. Matt says, nah, we don't acknowledge anything under SRT. Listen, moneybags, okay? Some folks can only do the $35,000 RT or the $40,000 Scat Pack. We all don't got that gaming level creator money blowing out the gym, all right? I'm just fucking around. John says, Matt and Mopar bias, not now, not never. Jack says the wide body looks sick as hell. Yeah, agreed. So the next Challenger comes by way of Ford with the Mustang. For $36,285, you can get a 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque, 5-liter Coyote V8 with either a manual or a 10-speed auto and a limited slip differential. Now you step it up a little bit, you get this guy, which is the GT Performance Pack, which gives you Brembo brakes, which gives you the Michelin Pilot Sports, which gives you an optional magnetic ride control for an overall good package. You step it up to $50K, you get the Mach 1, which by all means is one of the best vehicles on the market today. It's effectively a Shelby GT350R, but with the Coyote V8. It's a very good machine. If you guys haven't seen any reviews on it, go watch them. Literally everybody cannot shut up about how good the Mach 1 is. But it's $50K, which is, for all intents and purposes, $10K more than what the Z is going to cost. But for 36 grand, you can also get into a V8 Mustang. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, okay? 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque with the Coyote V8 and a manual and a limited slip differential, all for 36 grand? I don't know, that's tough to beat. And I love the Z. I think they did a tremendous job overall. But that's tough to beat. John says, sorry, but give me that Mustang. Jack says, but it's got the blue oval on the back. Hey, man, we talk about this on the show. It actually doesn't have the blue oval on the back, I think. I don't think there's a Ford logo anywhere on this car, if I'm going to be honest for you. Terry says, my friend got a PP2 Mustang for $41K brand new before they killed the PP2 back. What a machine. High revving too. What's the red line on the Nissan engine? Good question, Terry. I'll find that information for you. Nissan. Let's see if we can find it real quick. It's like 7K, Terry. Matt says, John, that's too much car for you. You own a Miata. Damn, son. Where'd you find this? But yeah, so the Mustang is definitely one you should consider. And the last car, we're not going to talk about muscle cars without bringing up the Mac Daddy of the performance muscle cars, the Chevrolet Camaro. So in the grand scheme, if you guys have never thought about muscle cars, they sit like this. If luxury is one end of the spectrum and performance is the other end of the spectrum, on the luxury end, we're talking Dodge Challenger. This is the car that gives you the torque, it gives you the power, it gives you the burnout, but it also gives you the comfort. This thing rides incredibly on the highway. On the left side of the coin, we got this guy, the Camaro, based on the Alpha chassis, which is one of the best chassis in the modern era. If you have not driven a Camaro, if you have not driven a Cadillac ATS, go out and drive one. They truly are a shock. And I don't care if you go for a 2-liter turbo 1LE, if you go for a V6, or if you go for a V8, the chassis is incredible, but its on-road comfort pales in comparison to the Challenger. The Mustang sits smack dab in the middle. It has some performance chops, but not as much as the Camaro, and it has some comfort, but not as much as the Challenger. So if you guys are ever thinking about muscle cars and where they sit and where you sit, that really is the scheme, the lineup, the calling card, if you will, whatever it is when it comes to the muscle cars. So without further ado, this is the Camaro. Now, $35,195 gets you 455 horsepower, 455 pound-feet of torque with a manual or 10-speed auto. $35,195 gets you limited slip differential, gets you Brembos. Now, you step it up to $46K, and we're talking about a 1LE. And I know if you guys are in some Facebook groups, you've heard enough about the 1LE, but for those of you that don't know what the 1LE is, it's a Camaro SS, so it has 455 horsepower, 455 pound-feet of torque, but with bigger Brembos and Recaros, magnetic ride, and a limited slip differential, the electronic, the ELSD, for $46K. That's a lot of car for the money. A lot of car for the money. And we can't forget that GM discounts cars like crazy. GM has, as do all of these car manufacturers, by the way, Ford, Dodge, and GM, they have crazy rebates. They have crazy incentives. I'm talking about like APR and interest rates on your automotive loan. And they have crazy warranties. Terry says, don't forget the crazy GM incentives and rebates. You never buy them for sticker. Exactly what's going on, Aaron. Jared says, does it have bigger blind spots? The Camaro has the biggest. There is no doubt, which is why if I had to make a decision of the three, I would likely go Mustang over Camaro over Challenger. I would likely go Mustang. But I'd be remiss if I didn't show you guys the three potential options from the Americans when it comes to competition. But it's not just the Americans when it comes to competitors for the Nissan Z, okay? Because if we're talking about competitors for the Z, we got to talk about the Supra. We have to, okay? And the Supra comes in two variants. But before we talk about the variants, guys, shout out to John, shout out to Aaron. Appreciate you both. We're going to have a sip of cold brew. Cheers to you. And we're going to talk about some Supra because I can already see it, okay? Wow, the Nissan Z blows the Supra away. Wow, the Nissan Z makes the Supra look dumb. Wow, the Nissan Z has all of this capability for way less cash. Wow. Can it? I don't want to hear it, okay? Because the Nissan Z in its own right is a great car, probably. But so is the Supra. So let's talk about the two iterations you can get in the Supra. Let's talk about the pricing for the Supra, okay? Number one, for $43,030, which, by the way, is roughly $8,000 more than all the muscle cars, okay? Roughly. For $43,000, you get a 2.0 Supra, the 2-liter turbo. Now, that 2.0 Supra might not be the one that you want, but hear me out. With 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque and a 0 to 60 time of 5 seconds, the car's capable in its own right. Less weight under the hood means it's more playful. You're looking at a Supra that weighs 3,100 pounds, which, by the way, is 1,000 pounds less than the Challenger. Not that that's saying much, but hey, it's a statistic. And it's fun to drive. The 2-liter turbo Supra is a blast. Now, I know that's not the Supra you guys want, but it's a good one. It is. And I'm gonna say something nutso here. I would take a 2-liter turbo Supra over an MK4 turbo Supra. There, I said it. Cheers. Terry says, hate on the Supra all you want, but the Supra is punching in some big boy classes, M2 Comp and Porsche 718. Jack says, that's what I've been saying. It makes the Supra seem overpriced now. I don't agree with the Supra being overpriced because I think, to Terry's point, the Supra actually punches above its price class. Because at $51,000, the 3-liter Supra punches at Cayman territory, and it punches at M2 competition territory, and the 718 Cayman costs $60,000 at base, and we all know how Porsche works, okay? That's without tires, that's without an interior, that probably is even without calibers, okay? When it comes to the Supra, you know what I mean? So the Supra's price is justified because you also have to remember this is a new chassis. BMW and Toyota worked together to develop something from the ground up. They weren't leveraging existing chassis components. They weren't leveraging existing interior components. They weren't leveraging existing things like Nissan is with the Z, which is where they can save money, which is why there is a big price gap. Okay? So the Supra isn't overpriced, but it is a competitor, so we're going to talk about it. Now, for $51,000, which is estimated to be about $10K more than the Nissan 400, than the Nissan Z, I did it again. Okay, if this is a drinking game, Jack's wasted right now. You know what I mean? You get a 3.0 Supra with 382 horsepower, 368 pound-feet of torque, 3.9 to 60 with an 8-speed auto and a limited slip differential. Now, if you guys have driven or if you have seen the Supra compete, you'll know that it comes to play. This car hauls ass. This car responds very well to modification. This car is holding its own on the time attack circuit and shocking a lot of people. Big shouts to Jackie Ding for doing his thing. But is it worth $5,000 more to you than a Camaro SS1LE? Is it worth to you Mach 1 Mustang price? Is it worth to you Scat Pack wide body price? Is it worth to you Nissan Z performance price? Because remember, the $40,000 price for the Nissan Z does not include a limited slip differential. The $40,000 price for the Nissan Z is with 18s, not 19s. The $40,000 price with the Nissan Z doesn't include leather interior. So if you step it up and you have a comparably equipped Z, the price delta between a Z and a Supra is going to be $3,000 or $4,000. Because a Supra costs $50K, but a Supra is fully loaded in 3.0 trim. The 3.0 Supra doesn't need anything. There's no freaking options for the car. If I go onto Toyota's website right now, okay, select vehicle, build and price, we're going right to the Supra, okay? The Toyota GR Supra, 382 horsepower, starts at $51,000. If I select this, go to the next step, I have no powertrain options, I have color options, and I have a safety and technology package. Ooh, radar cruise control. Ooh, it sounds incredible. That's literally the only option. So out the door, you're looking at $51,000. And by the way, guys, even though the car is selling well, you can still get them for discounts. And we know that the Nissan Z, given the history of how automotive dealers in the United States work, because we're not fortunate enough to be like our Canadian brethren who outlawed price gouging on MSRP, there's probably going to be some bumps. So if you're looking at a Nissan Z Performance and you're looking at a Toyota Supra, they're a lot closer than you think. They're a lot closer than that $10,000 price cap suggests. Without an MSRP inflation, you're probably looking at a $3,000 to $4,000 difference between a Z Performance and a base Supra. So it is a lot closer than you think. Jack says, I'd get a Z Performance before I'd get a Scat Pack wide body, and I'd get a Scat Pack wide body before I get a Supra. And that's cool. But guys, how cool is this? We've talked about a Challenger, a Mustang, a Camaro, a Supra, 3 of the 4 of which are available in manual, and all of which have over 300 horsepower. Crazy. All 4 under 50 grand. Crazy. But there's one car that we haven't talked about yet. There's one car that you might not think is a competitor, but it is. It's rear wheel drive. It's manual. It's a coupe. It's got back seats. And it's a competitor. Michael says, don't knock the Radar Cruise. It's good stuff. Look, I love Radar Cruise as someone who uses autopilot on a daily basis, as someone who has had the Genesis G70 with the radar. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think bad ones are horrible experiences, though. My mother has a Lexus RX, and it has horrible radar cruise control. But yeah, I feel you. Terry, you nailed it. You nailed it. The last competitor that we're going to be talking about, okay, is the GR86. Because that is a competitor to the Z. And it should be talked about. Because it's damn good. It's damn good. Hold on one second. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I can't right now. Jason Camisa recently called this the $30,000 Supra. $30,000 Porsche. So let's talk about the details. 2.4 liter naturally aspirated engine up from 2.0 with peak torque delivered at 3,700. This thing does 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. And it has, 228 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque, and it's under $30,000. Under $30,000. Terry says, straight up Porsche philosophy, like Jason Camisa said, improving little items without adding new issues. Yes. Exactly. The GR86 is most 100% a competitor to the Z. And at under $38,000, guys, the Subaru BRZ stickers for $28,900. The GR86 will sticker for even less. And I know it has 180 horsepower less than a Z. I know that it has a lot less horsepower than something like a Mustang, than something like a Camaro. But it's the most honest sports car your money can buy you. And that's not up for debate. It's not. Its chassis has been stiffened. They've given it more power. Right? They've done all the things. They've changed the biggest issues. And this weighs 2,800 pounds, guys. Jack says, if these had a bit more power, I'd already own one. Every BRS 86 FRS I've driven has been a blast, but it's just too slow. That's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is a couple things. Number one, that it's cheap. You can get them brand new for under 30 grand. You can get them used for under 20. Number two, there's plenty of aftermarket options out there. You want a turbo? Get after it. You want a supercharger? Get after it. You want nitrous? Send it. And if you boosted an FRS, and gave it the suspension you wanted, gave it the wheel tire you wanted, whatever, you would still be under the base price of a Challenger, never mind a Z. It's a competitor, and it bears to be mentioned. It bears to be mentioned. The interior, just like the Z, minor improvements, but good ones. And I hate that I'm saying this, okay, but we're going to quote Jalopnik for a second. Quote, "There is nothing pretentious about the GR86, and that's why it feels so special among modern performance cars. It knows exactly what it is, and you know exactly what it is. It'll never second guess you." Right? It's lightweight. It's rear-wheel drive. It has plenty of horsepower. If you want, you can get more. There's an extensive aftermarket for it. And it's all for under $30,000 in a car market where the average sale price is $40,000. It's under $30,000. You know what I mean, guys? It deserves to be mentioned. Now, we could get into sedans too, but I wanted to isolate this to only rear-wheel drive machines, because if you really want to talk about other competitors, we could get into the Golf Rs of the world, we could get into the Civic Type Rs of the world, the Elantra Ns, the Veloster Ns, but when it comes to coupes, when it comes to rear-wheel drive coupes, this is what you're looking at. These are the competitors. It's the GR86, the lightweight, cheap, most tunable one of the bunch. Okay? It's the, where the hell, what happened? Okay. It's the Supra. Iconic lineage, incredible 3-liter engine, superb chassis, wonderful interior and build quality, but higher price. It's the Camaro, with the best chassis on the market today for under $200,000, and an incredible V8 or 4-cylinder should you choose, but horrendous blind spots and cramped interior. Sorry, Terry. It's the Mustang with a fantastic Coyote V8 and just an okay transmission if you opt for a non-Shelby Mach 1, but overall decent levels of comfort, crazy speed for the money. It's the big comfy boat that gets out of its own way, looks the part. I would argue this looks the best out of all of them. The Supra, the Z, the Camaro, the Mustang, the GR86, fuck that. The Challenger looks the best, especially in this wide body form, which you can get for 40 grand. And oh, by the way, 40 grand is probably the price of the base Z. The base Z. So that's the competition. So what are you going to do? Are you going to wait and you're going to hold out for the Z? A car that promises to bring a very potent motor to the Z franchise. If you guys have looked up any Red Sport Infinity videos, you should. AMS has a tuned Red Sport Q60 that I believe is already in the 9s, and that's an automatic guy. So the engine is plenty tunable. Are you going to go for the new look on the block, the Z? Or are you going to go for cheap speed? I don't think you're wrong either way. I think all these cars are fantastic in their own right. I would never fault someone for getting a Challenger over a Mustang, or for getting a Camaro over a Supra, or for getting a Supra over a Z. I would never fault anyone for that. I wouldn't fault the guy that has the ability to get all of these cars and still picks the GR86. Because listen, at the end of the day, it's 4 or 5, however many cars we talked about here, recipes for the same product, okay? Picture all of these cars like recipes for the vanilla cake, all right? But they just are slight variations. All of them make vanilla cake, which is delicious. But they just each taste a little differently. They're all from different bakers. So when I go into all of them, I know I love all of them because I love vanilla. I love chocolate, whatever it is. But what each of them chooses for ingredients to make that same thing is a little different. But they're all good. Some might be better for me. Some might be better for you. But the fact of the matter is, these are the competitors that compete in this sub $50,000 segment. If you guys want to go higher, you can look at the M2. You can look at the M240. You can look at the Cayman. You can look at the TT. All right? Don't worry, more expensive cars exist. But I'm here to tell you, cheaper ones do too. You can get all those muscle cars for $35K. You can get a GR86 for under $30K. What is going on, Moses? Shout out to Andy as well. I don't know if I gave you props for sure. Nick says, great show, Thanasi. Really enjoy your take on all these cars. Appreciate you, Nick. Thank you for tuning in, man. Truly. Welcome. But as Jack alluded to at the beginning of the show, something I've been promising for a couple weeks now, we're going to do a quick tour of the vehicles that I saw over in Greece, my trip abroad. There were a lot of interesting cars there and a lot of ones that I am fired up that do not exist in the U.S., and I don't understand why they don't. There were definitely cars that I was driving that I get fully, wholeheartedly why they don't exist, but the majority of them I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? It's an SUV. What is it not doing in the U.S.? So let's take a look, let's take a gander, and we're going to start off with what my... actually, no, we're not. Apparently, this is going to go a lot faster than I thought. So this is obviously a Ford Ka. For those of you that don't know what this is a super small micro car from the fine folks at Ford. It debuted a while ago. This car debuted in 2008, and it was a city car. And then from there, you guys are looking at an awesome Seat Ibiza. Actually, okay, what I'm going to do, hold on. I'm going to change this up. Properties. We're going to make this a manual slide so that I get to pick when we change to the next picture. So I'm not rushing through talking all of these because there's a lot of cars to talk about, and I want to make sure that we give each of them their time of day because, quite frankly, they all deserve it. Okay? All right, next slide we're going to do is this. Previous we're going to do is that. Done. Amazing. Okay. So let's start it off with this guy right here. This was my rental car. Shout out to the fine folks at Hertz for giving me the opportunity to drive a car that I've never driven before. What I had was a Renault Clio, but I didn't have just any Renault Clio. My Renault Clio was available to be powered by two different fuels. My car specifically not only took petrol, but it also took LPG, otherwise known as propane, CNG, compressed natural gas. And it actually had two tanks. So I could fill up the LPG tank and I could fill up the gas tank. And 1 in every 4 gas stations in Greece had LPG, or as Greeks call it, autogas. And the pro about LPG is simple. Because of how high the octane is in Greece, because of how high the taxes are in fuel in Greece, which, by the way, the highest octane, or the lowest octane was 95, and it went up to 100 that you could just get at a pump. 100. But because of that, the price per liter was 160 euro. And if we're going to do that comparison, okay, euro to dollar, that's $1.87. And if we're going to do the liter to gallon, no, I want to do this the other way. So 1 liter is 0.26. No, I want to do 1 gallon to 1 gallon to a liter. $3.78. So 1.87 times 3.78. So I was paying roughly $7 a gallon in gas. Okay, $7. So shut up, New York, shut up, California. The price in Greece for gas is $7. Now, obviously, they have a higher octane, but the price is expensive. But if I looked at it per liter of autogas, that was 66 cents on the euro. So it was way cheaper, way cheaper. So it was really interesting. But don't get me wrong, this car wasn't glamorous. So even though it had a host of standard features, you're talking about Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which in a foreign country is very welcome because you can just plug in your phone and have Google Maps. You can just plug in your phone and have wireless calling. You can just plug in your phone and have music. You don't have to rely on trying to find the radio station, even though I speak the language. I'm just talking about in general. The car was slow. Guys, let's not romanticize European-only cars. Because outside of the performance models, every other spec of car in Europe, if it was offered here in the United States, would be laughed off the face of the planet. Okay? The Renault Clio, when not in Clio Sport trim or Renault Sport trim, is available with a 75 horsepower engine or a 100 horsepower engine. And you're looking at something that's the size of a Volkswagen Golf. This isn't small. So it's slow. And that's fine. It was more than adequate for me. I enjoyed it because the chassis was good. The steering was good. So even though the engine was a little bit funky, it had a small turbo and it was just super laggy and whatever, it was still fun to drive. But again, guys, it was slow. So if we're looking at cars like the GR86 and calling them slow, God bless you if you step into the wheel of this thing, because you'll think it is the slowest car on the face of the planet. Jack says, it looks pretty cool. I will admit, two-door hatchbacks are slick. Jack, this is actually a four-door hatchback. You can see the door handle right next to the back window. There's a little indent here, but this is a four-door vehicle. Aaron says, so damn cool. Andy asks, did it run better or worse on auto gas? Andy, there was actually no discernible difference. So when I picked it up from Hertz, it was on a full tank of gas. But when that gas was gone, I filled it up with LPG or auto gas, and it was the exact same experience. I literally noticed no difference. And I was trying very much so to like stay in tune to it, because I was like, oh, I wonder if it's a little more powerful, or I wonder if it's a little less powerful, or whatever. But yeah, it was 100% the exact same experience, and I should have taken a photo with the hood open, but it just looked like there was a sock puppet convention going on because of the amount of fuel lines and all this other bullshit needed to run two separate tanks, two separate fuels, and all that stuff. It was crazy under there. Jack says 100 horse in a modern car is crazy. Jack, that's commonplace, my dude, for all the cars in Europe. Did it come with a stick? So if you guys are ever planning to travel to Europe, ever, I can't speak to Asia because I don't know, but if you're ever planning to travel to Europe, the majority of cars that you rent at a Hertz, at an Enterprise, at a whatever are manual. So this car, yes, was in fact manual. You have to pay more for automatics. They offer them, but they're a lot more. The good news, my fiance and I both drive manual, so it's relatively easy for us to just, rent whatever. But that goes for premium cars too. Some of the Mercedeses and things like that are manual. So yeah, usually cars are manual first, but overall, I enjoyed my time in this thing. It was very comfortable. It was very roomy. We had 4 people, 5 people in it at various points, and it was super good on gas. With a full tank of auto gas, I would get 500-600 kilometers. So if you combine that with a full tank of gas, you're looking at something that can get around 550 miles of range, which is pretty impressive for sure. Moving on to the next vehicle, you have the Ford Ka. Okay, this thing debuted in 1996. We obviously never got them here in the States. It was powered by either a 1.0 liter i4 engine or all the way up to a 1.6 liter i4 engine, which was pretty spicy. That thing made 60 horsepower. This thing was hilarious. They offered it with a convertible at some point. They had a sport car version, which was also hilarious. Those cars had a 94 horsepower engine, which was wild. They actually competed in some rally races. They received a second generation, and I believe they have even a third generation that is still going. But it was definitely a hilarious vehicle to see. My aunt actually used to own one of these and owned it when it came out, which was bonkers. But yeah, they weigh literally nothing. I think the weight of this thing is under 2,000 pounds. So yeah, if you K-swap a Kodiak, you're probably looking at death. The next vehicle that I saw is, guys, I cannot get over the European hot hatches that we did not get here in the States. This one specifically, what you guys are looking at, is a Seat Ibiza. This is specifically a second generation model, which debuted in 1993. Now, there were sport models of the Seat Ibiza. You could get this thing in Cupra form at the end of its life with 148 horsepower and 133 pound-feet of torque, which again, guys, by American perception of what a car should be, that's slow. Right? 150 horsepower and 133 pound-feet of torque doesn't sound fast to you. And I get that, but you're wrong. Because a car is more than just about the horsepower. It's about the weight. It's about the chassis. It's about the suspension setup. And this thing is likely a ball. A ball to drive. Because remember, it weighs nothing. Nothing. And I love this one. This one specifically definitely had a lot of rally car inspiration in terms of the looks. Big fan. It's named Ibiza. Does it come with a bag of pills and shrooms? Yeah. Seat itself is a Spanish car company, so it makes sense that they name a lot of their cars after popular, like, Spanish vistas and things like that. This car is very interesting to me, and it is actually one that I hadn't heard of. This is a Hyundai, but this just isn't any Hyundai. This is a Hyundai Matrix that was actually designed by Pininfarina back in the day. Can you believe that? Now, it was sold all over the globe, but mainly, obviously, it did really well in Europe and Asia. But it was obviously not sold in the U.S. But the Hyundai Matrix was an MPV designed by Pininfarina. You can get it with a 1.5, 1.6, 1.8 liter gas engine or a 1.5 i3 or i4 turbo diesel engine. And it's ugly as all hell. And because of that, I love it. Plain and simple. Because of that, I love it. And they actually made these in a variety of locations, but one of them was in Greece. This car was actually assembled in Hyundai Hellas, all right, which is in Athens. They actually assembled these things in Greece for a long period of time, so I actually saw a bunch of these in Greece as a result. These are front-wheel drive. These are 5 doors, et cetera, but overall, interesting things that I hadn't seen before. But guys, I got to show you my second favorite car that I saw in Greece, and it is one that I've been following since its inception. It's one that I'm just positively obsessed about. It's one that is the ultimate city car. It's one that is so practical. It's one that's just a goddamn really cool, good idea, and it's the Peugeot 107. Now, if you look at this photo and you look at it closely, you'll notice something. Okay, this hatch, yes, is 2 doors. This hatch, yes, is small. But if you look at what the door handle is on this door, okay, you'll see it's right under the mirror. You see that? That's because this is a sliding door, okay? This Peugeot 107 was a city car that was truly meant and designed for the city. It has one sliding door on each side. No front door, no back door. Just a left and a right sliding door. And the obvious reason is simple. Because if you're in a city, you don't have room to swing out your damn door. If you're parking in tight parking lots in a city, you don't have room to slide out your damn door. But what you do have room is for a sliding door where you can just slide it down because it doesn't take up much real estate. It's brilliant. But sadly, it didn't really sell well. It didn't. And that's a big bummer because I am a massive fan. In fact, let me show you guys a photo of what it looks like with both doors open so you can sort of catch the vibe here. But it was sick. Terry says, holy fuck, when can we import these? Let me tell you right now, actually, because we can see when this car was made. 2005, so we got to wait just 4 short years, Terry, and you can bring one in. Actually, no, excuse me. 9 years. 9 years, and you can bring one in. But yeah, here's a photo with both doors open that I found via the interwebs. Oh, blown up. This is going to be ugly, but you guys get the idea. So this thing had 2 rows, so you could sit 4 comfortably, okay? And it had 2 sliding doors, which just made it very easy to move around, very easy to operate in the city. Brilliant. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Just a really, really cool, nifty idea. So this car showed out in 2005 is when it was unveiled. You can get this with a variety of motors from 1.6 to 1.4, diesel to gas. I'd probably get the 1.6 liter diesel. That engine had 109 horsepower and 143 pound-feet of torque. So 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. Again, not a scorcher, but good. Good. So yeah, this is really, really cool, and this was my second favorite spot that I saw in Greece. Next, this is a Subaru Levork. For those of you that don't know what this is the wagon version of the Subaru Impreza, the car that we do not get. Debuting in 2014, this thing not only existed everywhere but the States, but it also won in racing. Subaru actually entered BTCC with the Levork in 2016 and won the championship, which is crazy. This one specifically was the fastest version. So it was the 2-liter turbo version of the Levork. So this was effectively a WRX version. So it makes around 296 horsepower. And it has only a CVT. You cannot get the Levork with a manual. But yeah, they're coming out with a second generation of the Levork. We likely will not get that. But that was really cool to see because this, up until recently, was just sort of unobtainium. So it was nice to just see it in person, for sure. The next car, this is one, Jack says, we don't get a wagon Impreza, I swear. I've seen him here before. No, we do not. So we get the Impreza sedan. We get the Impreza hatch. We get a Crosstrek version of that. And then we get the Outback. We do not get the wagon version. So the next one, this is something that I am just surprised we don't get here in the States. Now, obviously, I knew this car. I'd followed its inception. I understood when it came out, but I didn't understand why it didn't come here. Now, what you guys are looking at right here is the Volkswagen T-Roc. This is a small subcompact SUV based on the MQB platform. So it is the SUV equivalent of the Golf. This thing could easily go toe-to-toe, head-to-head with cars like the HR-V. This thing could easily go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with cars like the Buick Encore, etc., etc. In Europe, it is powered by everything from a 1.0 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine to a 2-liter turbo T-Roc R, which is mental. That makes 300 horsepower, 300 pound-feet of torque with all-wheel drive. So you can get this thing in a variety of different outlets. They actually even make a freaking convertible version of the T-Roc. But this just shocked me because it's a really good-looking SUV, and premium SUVs sell really well here. So it was just interesting to see that this is not a part of the U.S. plan ever. Okay, yeah. The next vehicle here, this is a Peugeot 208. Oops, sorry, guys. I'm trying to type at the same time. But yeah, hold on one second. This is the newest small hatchback from Peugeot. This actually is the car that I wanted to rent, if I'm being honest, but was given a Clio. This is the second generation of the 208, and it is heralded as one of the best subcompact cars in the world right now. Powered by either a 1.2 liter or 1.6 liter gasoline engine, or a 1.5 or 1.6 liter diesel engine, or even an electric engine. There's a variety of power plants. And when we talked about when Peugeot would come to the US, we spoke about them potentially bringing the electric 208 here because it makes sense. That thing has 134 horsepower. I think it has 200 something pound-feet of torque, and it had a decent amount of range. But it's a really, really good car, really nice interior. I love the styling of the 208 as well. Yeah, it was just an overall really cool spot. I'm a big fan of Peugeots in general. Excuse me. Moving on to the next car, this is a Citroën Aircross. I believe this, yeah, the C3 Aircross. Love these things. This is the second generation of the C3. It came out in 2017. These are powered by either a 1.2 gas or a 1.5 liter diesel. These have the synonymous. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you. These have the very popular sort of like plastic pieces here on the door panel, and these are not only a styling sort of like element, but they also are like pockets of air that is supposed to protect you from someone swinging their door into you or you swinging your door into somebody else, which is pretty hilarious and interesting, that's a thing. So it's just an overall really interesting design element that was first launched on the Cactus, but I overall love Citroen's design. I think the 3D lights, the double-decker lights are really cool. This actually has triple-decker lights because it has fog lights as well. In China, they actually have a long wheelbase version of this, which is hilarious. But yeah, this is just a really, really cool car. It shares a lot with the Opel Crossland. Next spot. Oh, you don't know the Cactus, Jack? Let me show you guys the Citroën Cactus. This is the first car that launched Citroën into this like crazy sort of design language, leveraging those like air pocket things that I'm talking about. And if this car was available in the US, it would 100,000% be in my driveway. And that's not even up for debate. This is the Cactus. See these like air pockets here? Meant to protect the car against like door dings, effectively, and just be an overall style statement. But yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I think it's freaking awesome. Yeah, the next spot, Tacoma. I mean, we all know what this is, right? But in Greece, one of the interesting things is cars are taxed based on engine size. Okay, so the bigger the engine, the bigger the taxes, which is why you don't often see yeah, Jack, that actually came out way before the Hyundai Kona. So this definitely launched that trend for Hyundai, but yeah, it came out way before it. The Toyota Tacoma in V6 form, which is what this was, has a 3.5 liter V6. So that's a big engine, which is big to insure. I actually saw a Jeep, why am I blanking on Gladiator as well, which blew my mind. But seeing like American spec things there is pretty interesting. So it was really cool to see that. This is the other SUV that blows my mind that we don't get here today. If you guys don't know what this is a Ford Puma. These are the two photos of this. This is a Fiesta-based SUV. So here in the States, we get the Ford EcoSport. Everywhere else in the world, they get the Puma and the EcoSport, which is annoying. This is effectively a Ford Fiesta SUV. Much like the T-Roc is a Golf SUV, this is a Ford Fiesta SUV, and it's available in 3 different variants. You can get 123 or 153 horsepower, or you can actually get an ST variant that uses the same Fiesta ST engine, which is the 1.5 liter turbo 3-cylinder with 197 horsepower. So, you know, like really, really cool. And I think it's overall like a beautiful thing. Like, I think it's actually a really, really nice shape. So I'm polarized by the fact that we have the EcoSport here instead of this, because this is even bigger than the EcoSport. It's 3.5 inches longer. So it's just interesting that we don't have this here. I think it would sell really, really well if this was available here in the U.S. I don't really get why it's not. Jack says that's why you see so many Scat Packs over there. Super cheap to register. Yeah, it's funny. I actually saw one C6 Corvette over there, and I was like, Jesus, this guy's got money. Money. Moving on. Oh, I'm going backwards. Jesus, someone stop me. Moving on, I can't tell you how many Toyota CHRs I saw. They were everywhere. Everywhere. The Toyota CHR was one of the most popular vehicles that I saw in Greece, by far. Now, I'm not saying it was littered, like there were obviously a lot more other vehicles, but I was just crazy surprised with what I saw. Now, in Greece and in the majority of the world, you can get these things not only in front-wheel drive, but you can get them in all-wheel drive. And you can also get them with a variety of engines. These cars are offered as hybrids in Greece. These cars are offered as small turbo engines in Greece. These cars are offered as big turbo engines in Greece. These cars are offered as manuals in Greece. So I was just surprised with how many freaking CHRs I saw. I think I have a couple other pictures of them, but yeah, they're everywhere. Now, in Greece, as well as some other countries, the way that you can notify or like see that a car is a rental car is you just look underneath the plate frame. So this white one specifically is a Hertz rental. It's very tough to see here, but it says Hertz underneath the license plate. So certainly were a lot of rental CHRs, there's no doubt, but overall, there were just a lot of CHRs. I was really, 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 really surprised. The next vehicle that I saw was just outside my uncle's house, and that was the Alfa Romeo GTV6, I believe is what this is called, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's the GT. There you go. It's the Alfa Romeo GT, and this one specifically has the 3.2-liter V6, which makes 236 horsepower, 221 pound-feet of torque, for a 3,000-pound coupe, front engine, front-wheel drive, 6-speed transmission. The engine sounds glorious, and the body looks incredible. This is one of the most beautiful front-wheel drive vehicles in history, and one of the best-sounding engines. If you guys haven't heard the Alfa Romeo V6, let me see if I can pump it in right now. Alfa Romeo V6 sound. Let's see if we can find one. Yeah, here we go. This is what this vehicle sounds like. Let me know if you guys can hear this. Let me know if it sounds good. Pretty good for a front-wheel drive car, if I do say so myself. But yeah, love these things. Massive fan. Again, another CHR. They were literally everywhere. This one specifically was a hybrid version, which you can tell by the different tail lights. Also saw a Mercedes A45 AMG. This is the vehicle that we don't get in the States. We got the GLA 45 AMG, which is effectively we get the GLA, which is the SUV version of this car, but this is truly a hot hatch, and it looks terrific. Jack says, so with the 3.2 in it, that's actually kind of a big flex over there. Damn big engine compared to the 1.0 and 1.2s you normally see. Also, it sounds really good. Yeah, 100%. I think just like over here, right? Like if you have an M340i, that's a big flex compared to a 330i, right? Like having an M3 versus a base 3 series, it's the big flex to have the big engine. I think it's just a bigger gap in Europe, right? Because the smallest engines in the smallest cars are 1.0, 0.9, 1.2 liter, and the biggest ones are like 3, 4, 5, 6, versus here, it's like 2.0 or a 3.0. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a big flex, but I think it's pretty similar to here in terms of flex. And then, guys, I got to tell you, this is my favorite car that I saw in Greece. I'm so happy I saw these everywhere. I am the biggest freaking fan of this thing. You wouldn't even believe it. Now, when this car came out, specifically the second generation model in 2016, at the Geneva International Motor Show, I was blown away. I adore the design. I think it is gorgeous. I know you guys don't necessarily know what this is, but it is the Suzuki Ignis, and it is perfect. Leveraging an all-new platform, this car was offered with a variety of engines. You could either get this thing with a 1.2 liter Inline 4, you can get it with a 1.2 liter hybrid, or you can get it with a 1.3 liter turbo diesel. Now, this wasn't powerful, okay? It's not a fast machine by any stretch, okay? This wasn't a fast car, right? But it's perfect. The size is perfect. The body style is perfect. This car is small, guys. Like, it's very, very small. Like, I need to be very clear when I say, like, this is a small vehicle. Like, this is probably the size, if you're here in the States, you'll know the Chevrolet Aveo. Like, this is probably the size of a Chevrolet Aveo, but it's better in literally every respect. Why? It's the most endearing, it's the coolest city car ever. Because not only could you get this thing with 89 horsepower, which makes it go 0 to 60 in 12.7 seconds, okay? But you can get 50 miles to the gallon with a hybrid version. Easily. Easily. And it's all-wheel drive. That's actually semi-off-road capable. Let me show you guys a photo of Top Gear. Oh, that's the living legend. Beautiful machine in its own right. But let me show you a photo from the fine folks over at Top Gear. Hopefully we don't get canceled for this one again. But yeah, they took it off-road and they said it was actually immensely capable. Look at this thing. Fucking awesome. Let me show you a picture of the interior. Again, for a car with its base price, fucking awesome. Like, I'm sorry, I'll take this over like a Corolla hybrid any day of the week. It's got personality, it's got looks, it's got more than enough features in the interior. And by the way, next time I go to Greece, which will be in time for I'll be turning 30. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna want to rent one of these, because this was one of the rental car options. I was just so disappointed when I couldn't get it. And you're talking about something that new costs under $20,000. What? Like, what isn't there to like here, guys? What is there not to like? All right, this thing is literally perfect. So that is the Suzuki Ignis. Jack says, when did Suzuki pull out of America? Suzuki left the U.S. market shortly after the Kazashi, so around 2012, I believe. Yeah, so they left, 2012. That is the right number. Wow, crush that. Super happy about that. Yeah, they left in 2012. Womp womp. So we're missing out on cars like the Ignis. Is there anything else here? Oh, yeah, this is the Skoda. This is effectively Skoda's version of the Volkswagen ID4. This is, I believe they call it, hold on. Yeah, this is the Skoda Enyaq. And this is Skoda's version of the Volkswagen ID4, and I think it looks way better. The overall design of the Enyaq is really cool. The range is very solid. It's just a very good-looking thing. Aaron, I totally agree. This color is incredible. Yeah, just the overall package is really, really nice. And then, guys, the taxi game is insane. What you guys are looking at here is a photo. Sorry, I thought I was being paged. What you guys are looking at here is a photo of the hardest taxi I've ever seen in my entire life. So let me tell you guys a couple things, okay? And I think this is the last note. I think this is the last car we're ending. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. But we got to talk about taxis for a little bit. Okay. Now, taxis in Greece, for the most part, are all diesel, for obvious reasons, right? Lower maintenance costs, better MPG, et cetera, et cetera. Taxis in Greece, for the most part, are all manual. Taxis in Greece, for the most part, are all yellow. But in Greece, overall, okay, the notion of up-badging isn't a crime. The notion of putting an AMG body kit on a non-AMG is not a crime. The notion of putting an M3 body kit on a non-M3 series is not a crime. In fact, it's commonplace because not everyone can afford to pay the excise taxes. Not everyone can afford to pay the upfront price of an AMG. So doing something like this, which is taking the AMG body kit from an E63 AMG and putting it on an E-Class diesel, is fine. And I agree with that. There was no AMG badging on this, by the way. It was just the E-Class bumper. It was the E-Class side skirt, and it had the rear bumper as well. But there was no AMG badging. This is still an E-Class diesel, okay? But it's a freaking taxi. This is a taxi. And it was hard as fuck. This thing looks sick. And of course, when they pulled up to the beach, you hear the... like diesel sound, right? You hear that. But this look is hard. This look is hard as fuck. This thing bangs for sure. So yeah, up badging is not shamed in Greece, for sure. Moving on, I saw a Lexus, but I didn't only see just any Lexus. This was a GS 450 hybrid. So this had the big engine. This thing had the hybrid motor. This is a big money car. In general. Right? It's a big money car, not upfront cost. You're not paying an exorbitant amount of money to buy this thing, but in terms of running costs, you're paying a lot because gas is more expensive. In terms of running costs, you're paying a lot because excise taxes are more expensive yearly. You're paying a lot. Insurance is more expensive. So it was very interesting to see this GS there. Saw this sort of pro-drive spec Subaru, which was beautiful with the awesome headlights. I love these. I don't know what they're called. If someone's a Subaru person in chat, they can tell me what they're called, but I love these as well. And the blue and gold is iconic, right? Iconic. Saw this. A lot of you might not know what this is, and that is okay. That is what I'm here for. This is an MG. This was MG's sort of answer to the Mazda Miata. This is an MGF, which debuted in 1995. This is actually legal for importation. When it was unveiled, it had a 1.6 liter engine or a 1.8 liter engine that either had 118 horsepower or 143 horsepower. These cars weighed nothing. They upgraded to 160 horsepower later on in their life cycle, but they were overall super light. But they weren't crazy fast. I mean, the fastest one in its day did 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds. But hey, the Miata also wasn't crazy fast. And the difference thing that this had over the Miata was it was a mid-engine rear-wheel drive thing. So this is like more like a Toyota MRS type vibe than anything else. And I know that potentially some of you guys haven't heard of it. Now, this one was hit a little bit in the front, but overall it was still pretty cool to see one. My uncle works on MGs, so I actually got a ride in one of these when it was new in the late 90s, and it was super awesome. It was a ton of fun. Really, really cool car. They did a really good job in developing this thing. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I'm surprised to not see any here in the States, but, you know, I also get it. Like, not a lot of people really, like, fuck with MGs. Jack says, Michael says, this is all really good stuff, Thanasi. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Jack says, it's crazy how the most subtle cars can be such a flex there just due to cost of ownership. Yeah, totally. Well, and it's not even that it's a subtle flex, Jack, right? It's that you don't see any of them. Like the Corvette, the C6 Corvette, not only is a subtle flex because it's a big-ass V8, not only is it a subtle flex because of the gas cost, because of the insurance cost, because of the excise taxes, et cetera, that you're paying year over year to own a big V8 like that, but it's also a flex that because of all those costs, you don't see many of them. You don't. Like, I saw a Catfish Camaro, and I freaked out. I was like, what the hell is that thing doing here? Whereas here, I can take a right and see 8 Catfish Camaros down the street. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is true. But these things are super cool. I was actually looking to potentially import one because you can get them in Greece for under $5,000 really handily, which means you can import this thing to the States for like $6 or $7 grand total, which would be really, really interesting. Then you just got to wonder who the fuck is going to fix it. Again, another CHR. These things were literally everywhere. This thing, really cool. This is the Honda. I believe they called this the HRV. Let me double, triple, quadra confirm. But this was... oh, God damn it. Go to the Wikipedia. Yeah, we nailed it again. This is the Honda HR-V. This thing was available in 3-door or 5-door with a 1.6-liter gasoline engine, and you can get this with a 5-speed manual in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Again, another popular concept in Europe as well as the rest of the world is offering 2-door versions of SUVs. Okay, you see this with cars like the Land Cruiser. You see this with cars like the Suzuki Vitara. You see this with cars like the Mitsubishi Pajero. You see this with cars like the HR-V. Shout out to Mark Van Booski with the like. Welcome, my dude. Appreciate you chiming in. So yeah, like there's a lot of 2-door SUVs that here are only 5-door SUVs, and they're really cool. Like this HR-V looks cool as hell, right? Like it's a decent looking thing, and it's got a 1.6-liter D16 power in it, so it doesn't make any power, but it's got real-time 4-wheel drive, which is cool, which is really cool. And you can get it with a 5-speed manual. You could also get this with a D16 W5, which actually brought in VTEC and brought the power all the way up to 123 horsepower. Shout out to Mark with the share. Appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you. Good morning. Just swinging through. Got to get back to work. All right, man. Get that bread. Appreciate you for tuning in. Jack says, it's like, why have I not seen any pickups? Oh, yeah, they're all 5-liter motors, and they're $10 billion a year to own. Yeah, there were actually, so I did see a Gladiator. I did see Tacomas. There are a lot of small pickups. We're talking about Amarocks. We're talking about Ford Rangers. I saw a Ford Ranger Raptor that I didn't get a picture of, but I saw it. So there's a lot of that class and smaller pickups. No, like Silverado or anything like that. Those are way too big for the streets, never mind the taxes and things to own them. Also saw this guy, which is a Renault Megane. They used to race these back in the day. This actually is the exact same spec as my aunt used to have, which was a yellow 2-door. I think this is actually the first generation of Renault Megane. Yeah, this car... How great of a last name is Van Booski, I'll tell you. It's pretty damn great. Yeah, agreed, Aaron. That's an incredible last name. Mark's the man. So this car debuted in 1995, which makes it legal for import. You could get these things with as small of a motor as 1.4 and as big of a motor as 2.0. These cars were, just solid things. Just, they did the damn thing, and they looked awesome. There was a Renault Sport kit that you could get available for a period of time. They were touted as having decent chassis. They had really, really good looks. And the Renault Maxi version, which was the racing version, was freaking nutso. Let's take a look at this thing. This was the racing version, which I got the chance to see when it debuted because I was in Greece. This is the Maxi version of it. Look how sick that thing is. This car's incredible. Super cool. Moving on, Volkswagen Polo. This is a car I'm not surprised we don't have here in the U.S., but it was nicely modified, a little bit lowered, nice small wheels. But yeah, just smaller car than the Golf. Nothing crazy here. This car, amazing, guys. I could not get enough of the DS Automobiles DS7 or any DS Automobiles car for that matter. The DS Automobile is the luxury division of Citroën that split off and formed its own brand. This one specifically is the DS7, and this is a very well-rated machine. It is a beautiful apparently it has a really good chassis. Apparently it's really premium inside and out, and I just couldn't get over the design. I thought this was awesome. Nick says French junk. Nick, you can take that negativity and you can see the door. I love all French things. Citroën, Peugeot, Renault, come and fight me. I don't care that they all spontaneously combust, light on fire, spend more time in the shop than on the road, but god damn it, when they're on the road, they're a blast, just like a Ferrari. All right, we good? What's up, Nick? Welcome, dude. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, no, I just couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was awesome. It was a really nice shape. Again, another car that I'm like shocked isn't here. Nick says, I want a 3-row Peugeot 90s wagon. I'm with you. I want a daily drive Citroën CX-25 diesel wagon, but I'm afraid that my fiance would leave me because they're uglier than sin. And if you guys haven't seen what those look like, let me just show you really quick. Wagon. A good friend of mine, actually, Steve Brooks, has one, and they look incredible. Let me show you guys this. This is a manual. You can get these things in diesel or inline 4. They have the hydroelectric or hydropneumatic suspension. They're ugly as shit, but I don't really give a fuck. I think they're cool as hell. There's my car taste in a nutshell. Anyway, moving on. Moving on, I saw a Mustang. Mustang GT. This was the 5-liter V8 that you can get here in the States for, yeah, they ride incredible, Nick. Oh, they're so nice. I had a friend that had one that actually gave me a ride in it, and I was just so obsessed. They're so nice. But yeah, Mustang GT. You can see in Europe, all of Mustangs have the clear lights in the back, which is a fucking sick look. And just overall awesome. If you have a Mustang GT or if you have a Mustang here in the States, I don't care if it's a 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder, 8-cylinder, swapped, whatever the fuck, get these clear tails and get them instantly. They look incredible. And then that's it, guys. That's the Greek car summary. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun for me, and definitely whenever I travel, much to my fiance's dismay, I stop constantly to take pictures of literally everything, especially if we're in a market that has a lot of vehicles that aren't found in our market. I was literally taking pictures nonstop. Like there were 40 photos there alone of cars that I looked at. Never mind the cars that I stopped, commented on, but didn't like take a photo of, which was like endless. Right. So shout out to everybody for tuning in today. Thank you for tuning in to the Z episode where we went over not only the Nissan Z, but its competition. It was an awesome show. Jack, Michael, Nick, Mark, Aaron, Andy, Terry, Nick. We had a bunch of folks in the stream today. Appreciate you all for tuning in. For those of you that are new to the channel, I am Thanasi. This is the MoneyShift Daily Automotive News Show. We go live every day at around 8 to 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time during the work week, and we talk about all things automotive news. So if there's a new car coming out, we talk about it. If new motorsports happen, we talk about it. We show it so that you guys have all the information you need to go about your day full knowing you know literally everything there is to know about the automotive world. Now, because today's episode we covered just the Z, tomorrow we're going to have an extra bit about news because we didn't cover yesterday's car news today. So that's things like the WRX leak. That's things like the new Navigator that came out, etc., etc. So there's a lot of cool cars that we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow or subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right. I'm Thanasi on behalf of MoneyShift. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Jack, Terry, appreciate